solid, scary like them deep fakes. Ain't no way you winning like the sweepstakes. Free smoke like a street race. Why you at it, gone free blue face? Moonwalk, went on the beat. My head bobbing, some platoon talk. Play that Black Magic tune. That you tell me you gon' spend it like a top. I'm going back that bed till the bullshit stop. These jokers act like dying ain't enough. It's like they tryna dig you back up. Who they tell? I'm talking to these jokers like Judge Joe Brown. I'm rocking and rolling, but won't go down. They putting in on everything like Frank's Red Hot. Like beefing with 50, I never forgot. I can't see a program really twist the pot. Bitch, I'm not one of those who you thought.
Hey man, say man, welcome back to another action-packed episode of the Smarter Not Harder podcast. And this is your host Trip, and today got a few things to get into. But as always, check out Black Magic Jr. when you get a second. Explore it on all platforms: Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, Deezer, wherever you listening to music. Just drop the Get Even album on all DSP. It was just on the platform Even, which is why it's called Get Even. Initially just to promote Even, but now I went ahead and put out on all DSP, so y'all check that out. And also, be sure to tap in with attorney Trip Freeman for all of your criminal law, personal injury, and family law needs in the state of Georgia. And we're going to put the number up on the screen. Holla at me, hit the office line, 404-620-0036. Don't trip, call Trip. We can handle anything, big, small. We've done it all from misdemeanors to murder cases. So reach out, let us know. But today, we're going to talk about time. Time has come today. Time. So yeah, shouts out to that man Jimmy on that one. But time is the most precious resource. It's the most valuable asset you have, arguably the great equalizer, and also the thing that really sets people most apart from one another. You know, time is interesting in that it's the one finite resource out here. No matter what you do, you cannot create more time. You can arrange your schedule differently, and you can utilize your time differently. But as the seconds tick away on the clock, not even the richest person in the world can buy more minutes. So time is something that you always want to maximize and just try to use to the best of your advantage. And, you know, along those lines, just the concept of time is always now. You know, a lot of times we get caught up thinking about the past or anticipating the future and just falling victim to anxiety one way or the other, when you do yourself a service to recognize and just remind yourself that time is always now. You know, time is the most precious commodity by far, but it's also something that's, you know, equally rationed out to everyone. You know, shouts out to all the people that are sitting down incarcerated. You know, free the guys, they deserve to be free. But aside from you being locked up, you got 24 hours on the clock like everybody else, and it's up to you what you do with that time. Now, of course, some people start off with the advantage of inheriting great wealth or a trust fund, or their family already had, you know, a system in place and they're able to just feed into that in terms of moving forward in their success. But we're in a day and age in which plenty of people have managed to, you know, elevate themselves just based on their use of time and their time management. So, you know, it's always of the utmost importance. Now, I feel like a lot of times, not to keep saying time, but a lot of time, we psych ourselves out. You know, we wind up creating reasons as to why we can't do something or why it's not the ideal time to move forward. And in that process, a lot of time just goes to waste. And you look up and 2-3 years would have passed and you're still on the cusp of, well, maybe I should do this, maybe I should do that. And or you look up and somebody else has already taken an idea and run with it, and you were sitting back this whole time like, man, I was thinking about doing that, but I never acted on it. So, you know, I would say, get out of your own head. A lot of times we're our own harshest critics, and so there's a huge power in, they almost say let go, let God, or let the universe, or let it flow. But there's a huge power in just confidently moving forward in things. And even if you can't really master the confidence in moving forward, just move forward regardless. Appreciate the process of it, and as you grow and develop, you're going to always get better in whatever it is that you're doing. The more reps that you have, or the more that you keep at something, you naturally get better. And a lot of times, we are overly critical of ourselves, whereas the world in general is moving so fast that people aren't nitpicking you as much as you may be nitpicking yourself. And or people love to see the progression in things. A lot of the content creators that I watch, I recall when they were on a smaller level, and there's things that I appreciate and kind of nostalgically think back about those things. And then you like to see the progress, and as they get better and develop. Same thing with athletes or artists or anything. You see how people start off, more amateur and what they're doing, and they become more and more refined over time, and they're just more professional, more polished. And a lot of times people just enjoy the journey, or just being able to move through and be part of the process, more than people expect you to have perfection as soon as you come out the gate. So get out of your own way. We often prevent ourselves from being able to really maximize our output, and that we don't give ourselves a chance to actually go forward. So, to the best of your ability, just allow yourself to be. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, and that sometimes, shoot, mistakes can turn into the best things, man. I don't know if anybody's seen that clip of Tyson Nat. He started out streaming back in the day and was building up and was building up. But I saw one clip of him streaming at, I want to say, his old apartment back in New York, or where his family stayed, and maybe I think a rat ran across the screen, and that was something that he didn't expect. But the fact that he just made the most of it at the moment, that wound up propelling him and blowing him up, and really sending him viral and taking him to a whole nother level. So sometimes when you just allow things to flow, the universe will surprise you, and God will bless you in ways that you couldn't have even imagined. And doors may open up, may build relationships, or find favor with certain individuals that will elevate you in ways that you could have never planned yourself. But the fact that you actually went forward and took initiative, you were rewarded in ways that you did not expect. And as I mentioned previously, there may never be a perfect time. A lot of times I think about doing things, and I think about the obstacles in the way, and sometimes I continue to rest on my laurels, don't really jump out there. And I have to remind myself that there will never be a perfect time, even for things that we see on the outside as, oh, such and such had all these great conditions. You have no idea what those people had to power through, or just what they had to overcome to get in the positions that they're in, and or sometimes what they're dealing with behind the scenes, when you think everything is so gravy, and they have to face adversity and move forward the same way we do in our head. So I think in just acknowledging that there may never be a perfect time, however, the time is always now, it's kind of empowering when you think about it. Of, well, let me just get started. Let me take that first step. Let me go through, the first rep, or do whatever's necessary to get going. Because regardless of how you spend it, time is passing the whole while. And the wild thing about it is that none of us know the future. We don't know when the time is going to be up, or when you'll be in a position that you can, no longer utilize certain resources or do certain things. So it's always good to just get out and get ahead of stuff and try to take full advantage of it right now. So, time is going to pass regardless. So give yourself grace, go forward, and just see how things turn out for you. Yeah. So that's really it in terms of time. But, time management is super important. That can set you way apart from others. I more and more every day I try to get a little bit more done. And it's hard. And there's some days that you don't really feel like it, but you're going to have to work on one end or the other. So you might as well do it, or just put forth the effort, repeatedly, day after day. And when you look back, you've covered a lot of ground, and or things have changed or developed in a way that you wouldn't have expected when you first started off. You took those first steps. It was a huge power, and just keep going. Get to the point that you'll start to stack up, or build up time over time, and it'll be almost like the journey or the marathon is accomplished before you look back, and you realize, like, wow, I've been at this for a second, but you see all the progress that you made, and you'll be really shocked or surprised by yourself. Now, in terms of the tunes, actually going to take it in a different direction. So far I've been focused on a lot of new music, and telling you, hey, this is coming out and that's coming out. But to be quite honest, I don't always listen to new music. Sometimes I listen to new stuff, and the beauty about music is whenever you hear it for the first time, it's new to you. Music is timeless in that it's the energy captivated on the recording or on whatever medium you're checking out, and you could hear a brand new project. I mean, not necessarily brand new. You could hear a project from the 60s, 50s, 70s that you're hearing for the first time and still feel that energy and that excitement of when it just dropped and it's new to you and make you feel a certain way in your spirit. So that being the case, the album that I would like to discuss today is, a true soul classic, man. Shouts out to this brother. RIP to this brother. And, I would suggest everyone tune in, young, old, here, international, whatever, black, white, and different. Marvin Gaye's What's Going On album. That is one of the best albums that I have ever listened to. One of my favorite albums, honestly. Marvin Gaye really did his thing with the What's Going On album. And shouts out to fine people over at Wikipedia, because I did have to hit up and do a little research, but What's Going On was actually Marvin Gaye's 11th studio album at the time, and it was his second album to go #1 on the charts. What's Going On was critically acclaimed even to this day. It was an album that was one of the first of its kind in terms of a theme and discussing social justice, discussing environmental issues, discussing societal issues. It's written from the perspective of a Vietnam vet returning home from the war, and just really, looking at America and looking at the country, and from the perspective of a black man returning home from the war, and just seeing, the things that we're up against on a daily basis here, despite having, been out and represented the country and, fighting valiantly to uphold democracy in America, to come back and be mistreated and taken advantage of and kind of downtrodden. So it was a very poignant, socially conscious album. And at the time, on behind the scenes, Marvin Gaye got a lot of flack and a lot of pushback from the label execs. They say originally, there's rumors, some of it's disputed, but there's rumors that initially Berry Gordy did not like the lead single, What's Going On. And when he heard it, he felt like, well, this isn't going to sell. You're going to turn off your ooh, baby, baby R&B type of audience when you make this, what could be arguably deemed as a protest record or something that's too woke. It's going to be off-putting to people. However, Martin, I meant to say Marvin, felt very strongly about putting out the project or putting out that song, and he was able to convince some of the other execs with the company to help him go forward. And allegedly, they wound up actually shipping the single out without Berry Gordy's permission. They sent out about 100,000 copies, and those copies just jumped off the shelf, and they followed up with another 100,000. And by the time Berry Gordy got wind of the success of it, he was a huge fan and encouraged Marvin to go ahead and record the rest of the album. And the information that I looked at says that he actually recorded the whole rest of the project within about 10 days. He brought in some studio musicians. He worked with some of the musicians at some of the recording studios that he went to, but he also brought in some of his very own session musicians, and they created what is, just this masterpiece of the What's Going On album. And something that makes the album super unique and just a diamond is that the songs flow together when you listen to the project. When you listen to the project, a lot of the segues are really seamless, and it just makes for and also musical experience overall. So as the transition from what's going on to the next song, what's happening, brother, is just so smooth. You can hear how it's almost like you're at the symphony or somewhere really watching a live band just transitioning to another number instead of, this beat cuts off and this whole other thing comes on and it being, kind of cut and spliced in between. It almost sounds like one fluid recording of the whole project. He touches a large number of topics. He does have some love songs, but he also has songs that talk about the actual environment and just, what we were doing to the planet at the time. And back then, that was, that was not seen before in music. I'm sure there was somebody somewhere who had mentioned it, but in terms of mainstream music, they were not talking about environmental issues, and there was not nearly as much focus on just society as a whole. He's got songs that talk about things like drug abuse. If you listen to the song Flying High, it's actually about heroin and heroin addiction. And it's interesting because the song sounds so beautiful, but the song also sounds painful and it sounds like a struggle and, really speaks to what was going on back in the time during the 70s when a lot of people were, suffering with addiction and trying to find their way. Um, the What's Going On album is definitely something to treat yourself to. There's Mercy, Mercy Me, all kind of songs on there that, like, words alone won't do it justice. Just pop it in and listen to it. And depending on how deep you go down the rabbit hole, there were actually two versions of the album that were cut. And, back then, they were doing a lot of this stuff, arguably analog, or guys were really playing through. It was not so much synthesizers and the digital thing. So, they would really sit there and play through whole songs or, whole albums and cut a take of it. And for What's Going On, they played two whole different versions of the album. So you can listen, and as you listen to, one version versus the other, you can hear subtle differences in the way he may sing things and some of the intonations. You can hear subtle differences in the music and some of the effects that were on the mixes. So it's a real treat. It's actually like two different experiences getting to hear the two versions of the complete album. So do yourself a favor, check out the Marvin Gaye What's Going On album. It was released in May 21st, 1971. But when I tell you, to this day, man, it still holds its own, and you can't really say that musical projects that are coming out now are putting it to shame. So it's definitely worth going back and just making yourself aware of that project and tuning in. In terms of content creation, what have I been looking at in the space? Man, got to shout out that dude, DJ Akademiks. Big AK, the man, the myth, the legend, man. Akademiks was a pioneer of hip hop media and, a real leader in that space for a long time now. He's somebody that actually did, I think, start as a DJ back at Rutgers University in New Jersey, and more became, one of the foremost hip hop streamers or one of the foremost hip hop content creators. And Akademiks, man, hate him or love him, you can't really ignore him in that he's just put his stamp on the game. He's to the point now where labels reach out to him and they try to get him to either review their artists, talk about their artists, or just they want to be in the algorithm with him one way or the other in terms of trying to push things to the masses or to the mainstream. So he does hold a huge amount of power in the space, and it's interesting because sometimes it gets some of his content gets way into gossip and drama, and it's arguably not as focused on music, but it still remains hip hop centered, and he has a huge market share in what is the hip hop space today. I think overall, hip hop content creation has to some degree gotten away from music and is a lot more centered on just the antics and things that are going on. And he's not solely to blame for that. That's just the way that hip hop has gotten at this point. Arguably we've got the love in hip hops. We've got social media. I think social media in general just makes people arguably want to see and experience things more than even just listen to music. But shouts out to Akademiks and he's, very controversial at times. You have a lot of people that do not like DJ Akademiks. You have a lot of people that love DJ Akademiks, but everyone's pretty much heard about him. He's pretty polarizing in the space, and you got to tip your hat when you really think about it. This dude took this on his own from being an immigrant moving here from Jamaica and just buckling down, working and grinding from college dorm room to now, being a multi-million dollar platform that's grossing, 10 million plus annually just from his grind and doing what he's been doing. So, do have to give credit where it's due. And shouts out to Akademiks, man. He's actually even put out some music on his own, man. Lil AK, and he's worn a lot of different hats, man. He's popularized a lot of different artists and put light on a lot of different movements. Some of it's been controversial. You have people, who are upset with things like the war in Chirac, but at the same time, Warren Chirac put a lot of light on a lot of different artists and really made, the world and or the nation aware of a lot of the Chicago artists and a lot of the people on the scene in Chicago. So, I can't really speak too much one way or the other if it was good or bad because I'm not from the Chi. But, ultimately, he did shine a lot of light and, bring them a lot more listeners, fans, revenue, etc. So, shouts out DJ Akademiks. Y'all check him out. He's pretty prevalent on all the platforms. The main platform that I watch academics on is YouTube, but he's also got a real large IG following. I don't know how he does on Facebook, but between YouTube and Instagram, you can't miss him. So it's at DJ Akademiks. And I put it up because it's not spelled academics with a C. It's AKADEMICS. But yeah, follow DJ Akademiks. Watch DJ Akademiks on YouTube. Yeah, shouts out Big Act, man. Act. Play some of that Black Magic Jr., man. Check it out. Tune in. I be spamming you, so I know you have at least heard of it, brother. You seen it. You already know. But anyway, man, in terms of style, what have I been wearing or what would I like to, make you aware of? G-Star Raw. And if folks might be like, "Dang, this whole episode is just throwback," but like, hey man, if it's fire, it's fire. Like G-Star is a denim company that's, I want to say it's Dutch. Yep. It's a Dutch company, and they specialize in what is considered raw denim. They make clothing for men, women, children. It's arguably streetwear or more urban, style clothing, but they've got a wide range. They've got a bunch of different items on the site. If you check it out, go to G Star or G Star Raw and check out their website, man. They got all kind of different styles. It's interesting, man. When you look at it, you see like how Levi's will have 501s and 505s and all the different number jeans. Man, G Star has so many different variations on their pants and different things with shirts, jackets. Really top to bottom. They make hats, but really fresh stuff, man. Overall, I think they have a real fashion forward or modern type of design in terms of the cut and just the way the clothes fit. It's almost like a more tailored type of fit. It's not, they have varying degrees of skinny. So if you want to have the super duper skinnies, you can get that. If you just want to have more of a sporty cut, they have that also. But check out G Star Raw. Shop with G Star. And yeah, do yourself a favor, cop some. I was looking at the site in terms of wanting to do this piece right here, and they got a lot of great sales going on right now too. So to copy some, man, you'll be surprised. I know folks is like G Star, man. Hey, G Star's still fire. They still making really quality clothes. So y'all check out G Star Raw. But that's about it. We're finna get up out of here. This has been another episode of the Smarter Not Harder podcast. And as always, stay tuned in. Check out Black Magic Jr. Got numerous projects out right now. Shouts out to everybody bumping the Recovery album. That's doing really well. And it's been cool to get feedback. Shouts out Pack of the Plug, the homie over in France, man, breaking us in that European market, man. Greatly appreciated, King. Thank you very much. And shouts out my man, DJ FX, man, Nubian Beauty Supply. And he's also on the radio, man. Check out DJ FX, man. He's been showing much love here in the States. So As always, man, tune in. Just explore the Black Magic Jr. catalog. We have a ton of different stuff, out that's floating around in circulation. It's always interesting to me to see, which songs are picking up momentum. Been dropping a lot more visuals lately and been seeing the numbers pick up. So that's cool, man. I had to get with the times and recognize, hey, it's bigger than just the music, man. People want to learn about you, see what's going on, and follow up that way. So shouts out to everybody that's been tuned in and listen to Black Magic Jr. BLKMJKjr. And as always, don't trip, call Trip. Hit me up for any type of legal issues that you need. If it's not in my wheelhouse, I've got a great network of attorneys that I work with, all the way from family planning, bankruptcy, immigration, commercial litigation, civil litigation. Know a lot of attorneys. So, if it's not something I can directly help you with, I can point you in the direction of a real quality referral. So, keep us in mind. Holler at me, attorney Trip Freeman. Hit me up, 404-620-0036. And I specialize in criminal law, family law, and personal injury. So that's it, man. Smarter Not Harder podcast signing out. Peace.
Brand new Black Magic Jr. album, Get Even, out now, on Even.
I really stand apart like Narco Art.
Featuring bangers like Missions.
Idea, me scared of dark.
Let's go.
It's
only for my designer junkies. You can't afford a copy. Wait up. Featuring El Bravo.
Looking for a destination, no relation. So I can
Wise guy.
from the United States of a nation. There's so many ancestors, souls on the blood of sea.
Rising Sun.
Had to summon all the homies running with the G-Force. With the
Loch Ness Monster. And more.
Better effort pay boys right peoples. So what we really praying for?
300, man, hit like some buffs, man.
Get you hooked.
So get your wag on, man, to this summer banger. Black Magic Jr., Get Even.
So we
Out
go
now.
in the same
God.
game.
Vampire
Masterpiece.
masterpiece. From the biggest to the small. Yeah, boy. Black Magic Jr., Get Even, out now. Woo. Damn. Shout out to Russ.
Black, my magic.
What I did